Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Assetto Corsa Replays and Histories YouTube channel. Today, I want to go over the history of the plucky underdog team, Jordan Grand Prix. And I also want to pay tribute to its founder, Eddie Jordan, who sadly passed away to prostate cancer a few weeks ago as of the time of this recording. Eddie Jordan was a legend of the sport of Formula One and was highly respected in the F1 paddock and the F1 world as a whole. Eddie Jordan was born in Dublin in 1948 and was an Irish businessman, racing driver, and later on in life, a broadcaster. Eddie Jordan was also an accomplished drummer as well, and would be the host of the Formula for Success podcast with former F1 driver David Coulthard. Also, with Coulthard, he would be a pundit for the BBC from 2009 to 2015 and Channel 4 in 2016. Eddie's career would start by working for the Bank of Ireland. However, by the age of 22, he started karting. The following year would see Jordan win the Irish Karting Championship and progressing to the lower formula of car racing. Between 1974 to 1979, Eddie Jordan would race in the Irish Formula Ford, Formula 3, and Formula Atlantic series, and also in the International Formula 2 Championship. 1979 would see Eddie form the Eddie Jordan Racing Team, which competed in International Formula 3000 from 1985 to 1990. Jordan would go on to form the once successful Jordan Grand Prix team in 1991. Jordan's racing career was nearly ended with a fairly serious accident at the Mallory Park circuit in 1976. However, by 1978, Eddie would be racing in the Irish Formula Atlantic Championship, which he won. 1979 would see Eddie race in the British Formula 3 Championship, teammate to Stefan Johansson, and in one race in the International F2 series. Later on in that year, he would also go on and test for the McLaren F1 team as well. 1981 would see Eddie Jordan compete at that year's Le Mans 24 Hours in a BMW M1 with Steve O'Rourke and David Hobbs. 1979 would see Eddie Jordan form the aforementioned Eddie Jordan Racing Team. The team would run talented drivers such as David Leslie and David Sears in 1981, and a year later James Weaver in 1982. 1983 saw the signing of Martin Brundle, racing in the British F3 Championship. 1985 saw Eddie Jordan Racing join the International Formula 3000 grid. 1987 would see the team win the British F3 Championship with Johnny Herbert. In 1988, the team would win its first races in Formula 3000 with Johnny Herbert and Martin Donnelly. Jean Alesi would win the Formula 3000 Championship in 1989 with the team. Eddie Irvine would secure a win and 4 podiums in the Formula 3000 Championship in 1990 and came third overall in the Drivers' Championship as well. Now, we get to the F1 team. 1991 would see the formation of Jordan Grand Prix. 7up would be the main title sponsor, with Gary Anderson being car designer, and Cosworth would supply V8 engines to the team. The team's first car, the Jordan 191, was driven by Bertrand Gachot, Andrea De Cesaris, Michael Schumacher, Roberto Moreno, and Alessandro Zanardi, later known as Alex Zanardi. The car had a fairly successful opening season, especially for a new team's first effort. 2 fourth places would be achieved at Canada and Mexico with Andrea De Cesaris. At Spa, Michael Schumacher would make his debut for the team and make a splash in the F1 community, where he would later be signed one race later by Benetton. After qualifying in 7th place, Schumacher had a clutch give out on the first lap. However, this showed that the team had much promise and potential. 1992 would see a less successful season for the team. This was mainly due to Ford making the Benetton team de facto works team and not selling their engines to the Jordan Grand Prix team. Jordan Grand Prix, however, secured the Yamaha engine deal, but these weren't reliable and were very underpowered. 1993 would see the team change engine supplier again to the Hart V10s. New drivers would also make their debuts for the team: Ivan Capelli and Rubens Barrichello. Capelli, however, would leave the team after 2 races, and 5 other drivers would race with Jordan as teammates to Rubens Barrichello. Eddie Irvine was one of these drivers. 1994 would be a more successful season for the team, with 28 points scored in the Constructors' Championship. This was despite a near-fatal accident for Rubens Barrichello at the ill-fated San Marino Grand Prix. For a team that was on a low budget, along with engines that were developed on just a small budget, 5th place in the Constructors' Championship was a real achievement. From 1995 to 1997, Jordan Grand Prix would run the factory Peugeot engines. This was due to the collapse and sale of Hart engines, and McLaren getting rid of their Peugeot engine deal. The highlight of the 1995 season would be at the Canadian Grand Prix, with both Barrichello and Irvine finishing 2nd and 3rd place. 1996 would see Martin Brundle join the team. 5th place would be achieved in the Constructors' Championship for that year. The period between 1997 and 1999 is seen as an ascent to form for the team. Both drivers would leave and be replaced at the end of the 1996 season by Giancarlo Fisichella and Ralf Schumacher. The team would also change engine supplier to Mugen in 1998. 1997 would see 3 podiums scored and 5th place in the Constructors' Championship. 1998 would see Damon Hill join the team as well, replacing Giancarlo Fisichella. Damon Hill would win the Belgian Grand Prix, with teammate Ralf Schumacher coming home in 2nd place. 4th place in the Constructors' Championship would be achieved that year. This would be built upon as in 1999 the team would be at its highest point. Damon Hill was retained, however Ralf Schumacher was replaced by Heinz-Harald Frentzen after Ralf moved to the Williams team. Frentzen would go on to win 2 races, and the team would come third in the Constructors' Championship. However, this would not be built upon though. The 2000 season would be the start of the team's downfall. Damon Hill would be replaced by Jarno Trulli, and 6th place in the Constructors would follow. 2001 saw the team switch to factory Honda Works engines, as Mugen had left at the end of the 2000 season. This would lead to a battle for the right to use the factory Honda engines with the BAR Works team for long-term use. 2002 would see Takuma Sato join the team, replacing Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Sato was backed by Honda and was brought on to maybe satisfy Honda. The team once again managed 5th in the Constructors' Championship, and more importantly, ahead of the BAR team. 2002 would be the beginning of the end for the Jordan Grand Prix team. This was due to a drop in sponsorship. The team would be sent on a downward spiral over the next 3 seasons. The team would achieve 6th place in 2002, 9th in 2003, and 9th again in 2004. This was only beating the other ill-fated F1 team, Minardi. 2003 would also see the team move to 4 Cosworth engines. These engines were reasonably powerful. However, with dwindling budgets, the car was lacking overall development and falling behind the rest of the grid. By the end of the 2004 season, Eddie Jordan had no choice but to put the team up for sale. 2005 would see Ford put the Cosworth engine operation up for sale, leaving Jordan without engines. Toyota, however, agreed a customer supply deal for Works quality engines, the very same ones that were in the back of Toyota's own F1 cars. Jordan was then sold to the Midland Group for $60 million. The team would operate under the Jordan name, however it was only in name. The team achieved a lucky podium at the 2005 US Grand Prix, the one where Michelin had issues due to the banking at the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit. For 2006, the team would be known as Midland F1, or MF1. After that, the team would be sold again at the end of 2006 to the Spiker Group and renamed Spiker F1 for the 2007 season. Once again, the team would be sold at the end of the 2007 season to Vijay Mallya and would change its name to Force India. From 2008 till 2018, the Force India team would compete in F1. However, major debts and charges of fraud against Vijay Mallya caused the team to be put up for sale and into administration. As of the 2018 Belgian Grand Prix, the team would be owned by billionaire Lawrence Stroll till the current day. The team would be renamed as Racing Point from 2019 to 2020. As of 2021, it has its current name of Aston Martin. So, with all that being said, what is the best way to sum up Eddie Jordan and the Jordan F1 team? Both were much loved. First of all, Eddie, first and foremost, was very charismatic, with his cheeky attitude. This was unquestionably seen in his broadcast for the BBC and Channel 4's coverage in F1. Often, at times, he would have outlandish and sometimes questionable theories on what was happening in the F1 paddock. However, more often than not, would have inside knowledge of dealings in the F1 paddock due to enormous respect from within the paddock. Eddie was also a fierce competitor as a driver and team principal, from time to time not shying away from what he thought was right and could benefit his team for its very survival. Now for the team. They were unquestionably underdogs that somehow managed to get a lot out of a little. Resource management was a great strength, however, also seeing young talent and giving them a chance was another. Many drivers such as Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher, Giancarlo Fisichella, Eddie Irvine, Johnny Herbert, Jean Alesi and Takuma Sato, amongst many others, owe some part of their career to Eddie Jordan and Jordan F1. Although, with all of this resource management, it could not stop what ultimately killed the team. That was manufacturers outspending and outdeveloping their F1 cars and engines. With manufacturers came a spending war. Ferrari annually had budgets of $400 million, whilst Toyota arguably had even more to spend than that. This priced out Jordan, and sponsorship also dried up as a result. The team had one of the best first seasons, though, of any new team in the history of F1. And I think that says it all. I think highly ambitious and highly lovable would sum up the team. If you learnt more about Eddie Jordan and his famous F1 team, please like, comment, share and subscribe for more videos like this. This video also serves as an introduction to cars featured in the gameplay in the background. They will all be linked down below. So thank you and goodbye.